Hello, online pipe community. Ethan, Parsimonious Piper here. Today we have another Morsels from Mental Manducation, and we are continuing with C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity. But first, in a 3-star pipe by a lead Canadian, this time without a repair band, I have another bowl of Ashton's Artisan's Blend, which we will talk about tomorrow. Good stuff. Well, the last couple of segments, we talked about what Lewis calls the least popular virtues or characteristics of Christian morality, sexuality, and marriage. Today we're going to talk about one that's probably equally, if not, well, almost, if not equally, as difficult to live out in particular, and that is forgiveness. Now, we have all heard some variation of the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. This teaching is unique, as far as I can find, to Christianity. There are some things that are similar. The closest that I have found is a Buddhist Confucian version that says, do not do unto others what you don't want them to do to you. That's a paraphrase, of course. I don't speak Chinese. But you'll notice that that is phrased in the negative, the reactive. Jesus' golden rule is phrased in the positive, the affirmative. Actively do to other people what you would like them to do to you. Behave towards others the way you want them to behave toward you. Now, there are people from Christians to atheists, the entire spectrum, who will pay lip service to that teaching. And here I'm not pointing fingers, because Christians often just pay lip service to it too. But they don't follow it through to its natural, logical consequence. Now, what is that consequence? Now, if we are all honest with ourselves, we see our own flaws, our own sins, flashing in front of us like a neon light. When I do something that I know I should not have done, or I don't do something that I know I should have, that just jumps out at me. I see those all too clearly. And yet we love ourselves. Now, this doesn't mean we like ourselves. We see these things that are bad about us. We may even loathe ourselves for the things that we think or do. But we love ourselves. How's that possible? Well, that's because love is not a warm, fuzzy feeling. Love is not like. Love is the conscious decision to wish or do for someone else what is best for them. And even when we despise the things that we do, we want the best for ourselves. That part is selfish enough, I suppose. Now we have to turn that around. Because to do unto others as we would have them do unto us, and as we do unto ourselves, means to see the flaws, the sins in others, and forgive them the way we forgive ourselves. To love them, not like them, not admire them, to love them, to want what is best for them, to the point of doing it ourselves, despite knowing what their flaws are. That's a lot harder than just what appears on the surface. Much, much, much harder. In the Lord's Prayer, which used to be common knowledge even among non-Christians in the West, sadly, even a lot of Christians can't recite it anymore. Jesus instructs his disciples to pray, "Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us." Note the conditional there. That should be a little frightening for those of us who very easily hold grudges. Forgive us as we forgive. Note also the connection to the golden rule. We are to forgive others in the same measure that we forgive ourselves. And in that measure, God forgives us. I did say that. Straight from Jesus' lips. That's tough to live by. Notice there aren't any exceptions. It's a conditional period. Now, Lewis points out that this forgiveness, this interpersonal forgiveness, does not mean that there won't be any consequences for sin or bad behavior or evil behavior. The family and friends of a murderer may forgive that murderer for his sin. Society may still justly punish him for it with imprisonment or death. Those two things are not in conflict with each other, as some would have it be. Forgiveness is an interpersonal thing. It is not a group thing. It is not a societal thing. Society still has consequences. Nature still has consequences for bad decisions, for deliberately bad decisions, for evil, for sin. When you do wrong things, the people you have done wrong against may very well forgive you. That does not necessarily take away the consequences of your bad behavior. And if you're a Christian, you shouldn't desire it to. You should be willing to take and accept punishment for the things that you've done, not desiring to just get out of it or weasel out of your punishment by saying, "Oh, well, I'm forgiven." It doesn't work that way. But that's a societal thing, and it's something that Lewis doesn't go, I don't think, far enough into. On an interpersonal level, a debt forgiven cannot be collected down the road. If I've loaned you money and you at some point came to me and said, "Look, I can't pay back the rest of this." If I forgive that debt, I can't come back to a year later and say, "Hey, you know that money you owe me?" Well, you don't owe me that money anymore. I have forgiven that debt. We have to do the same thing on an interpersonal level. We can't just keep revisiting the same things over and over again. Possibly the hardest teaching that Jesus gave in this aspect. When asked by a disciple, "Should I forgive 7 times?" and Jesus said, "No, 70 times 7. Repeatedly, over and over again, the same person for the same sin. I struggle with this. This is a hard teaching, but it is distinctively Christian. It is not weakness to forgive someone over and over again. It takes an uncanny strength of will to do that. Christians are often looked down on because, oh, you just let that person walk all over you. They've done that before, they'll do it again. Yes, they will. Because like me, that person's a sinner. Let that soak in a minute. For you and for me. The same grace that God extends to me in forgiving me sometimes for the same thing over and over again. I have to be willing to extend that grace to others. That is a characteristic of Christian forgiveness that is not taught everywhere. And it's a hard thing to live out. It takes real strength of character, not weakness. With that, my friends, light something you like. This Artisan's blend might be up your alley. Tune in tomorrow, find out. Think about it. Enjoy your afternoon.